Let's see if we can go hiccup free. I think we're good. It's amazing how some days this seems to connect super easy, and then other days it is a struggle, a bit of a struggle. Anyways, that's what coffee's for, right? So welcome to another stream, live stream here with me. My name is Aaron. You can find me streaming here on YouTube under the channel name Gray's Reality. And you can also find me on X or Twitter, if you prefer, under the same handle, Gray's Reality. And lately we've been building apps with Lovable. It's a sort of no-code cloud-based application that lets you build cloud apps, if that makes any sense. So basically using AI and prompting to build apps in seconds, ideas to apps in seconds. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Because I don't really have an agenda for today, but I figured we're at a place where yesterday I was working on a personal sort of landing page, similar to if you've ever used Card. Card is a website that allows you to develop, sort of quick and easy landing pages of all kinds for whatever purposes. Personal profile pages, which is basically what we did yesterday in Lovable. So we can talk about that. Landing pages, forms. So I got forms to work, albeit it's not the most lightweight solution, but it's pretty easy to do with Lovable. Turns out you could just use an edge function and anyways, it's not that technical, but it can get done pretty quickly. So needless to say, you can pretty much build out any of these style of pages in Lovable pretty easy. So I mean, that's kind of what I gathered from yesterday. Once I was able to get my form working, then like this project seemed to come together pretty quickly. So just a heads up, this is what we built yesterday. This is what we were talking about. We're still streaming, yeah. So if you have questions about any of this stuff, just let me know. That's what I'm here for. That's why I'm doing these live streams. I'm learning at the same time. Because Lovable is a new product. There are a few other, there's a lot of other solutions out there, but I gravitate towards Lovable just because of the usability and the progress that I can make pretty quickly. So I find it is the most intuitive for me personally, but I'm open to exploring other solutions, other platforms. But for now, you'll find me here talking about Lovable. I will be talking about other things going on in the space because it's I think it's important to know what else is out there. All right, so what is this thing and where does it exist? So this actually exists in reality, if you will. So it's on its own domain now. Actually, it's not on its own domain. This is, I would say, parked on Lovable. So Lovable gives you, you can just deploy apps quickly and easily. If you want your own custom domain, you either need to push it out to, I think, Vercel or Anyways, one of those two solutions, and then you can route your own domain, your own custom domain to it. Right now, this is just sort of a project build, so it's just sitting on graysreality.lovable.app. It's fully working though. This is what we built out on the stream yesterday. So this is what we built in, I don't know, about 30 minutes, and it's got a contact form. You can submit it. It'll go to my make.com webhook. It'll then forward off a message to me. So if you want to get connected, if you want to connect, feel free to use this Lovable or graysreality.lovable.app, and either YouTube, Twitter, or use the contact form, and you can get a hold of me that way. So I'll probably I need to publish this. I need to post this on X, on Twitter. So I should probably do that now, just so people know that we're streaming live. Another thing that I want to add here to this is maybe a newsletter option of some sort. I don't have a newsletter, but I'm thinking I should start building a list. If you're interested in this kind of content, you can just hand over your email address and then get notified when I'm either live streaming or produce new videos and stuff like that. Mostly for that kind of interactivity and that stuff. Just keeping in touch. All right, so what are we doing now? I'm just going to load up YouTube real quick on my phone so I can get this and publish this stream out into the world, similar to what we've been doing. Again, questions, concerns about anything, just drop them in chat, and any of the YouTube links are on on Twitter. I'll be there eventually. All right, so I'm going to share the stream. I'm going to copy the link. Actually, I just post it to Twitter real quick. All right, let's discuss today. Let's talk about, because I don't have a preset agenda, what I do want to talk about is coming up with new app ideas, right? So something like this was just something that sort of I was like, oh, you know, I've been using other services in the past, like WordPress for a blog, as well as Card for like this kind of like a quick sort of bio page, link page. And, you know, it sort of gave me other ideas about what else we can build in Lovable. So that's kind of the idea. You can build apps in seconds, which makes it sort of easy to get stuff built out. But there are so many options now. Like, what do you build? Like, what should you build? What do we want to build? And so I'm at a place now where I've tried several different things, several different projects to different degrees in terms of like how many edits or how much time I've spent on each of those. Some of these are like, you know, like this one, this was born in about 30 minutes, right? And just created it from scratch. And now it's a working application and it's hosted on Lovable. And if I wanted to, I could just push my domain to it and it's, you know, its own little website. So I guess the question to you is, how do you come up with app ideas? You know, when you're thinking about apps, how do you stay focused on one? That's another challenge, right? When you can build apps in seconds, like how do you focus on just one? And so I figured that's what we talk about today. Coming up with new app ideas on my live stream. How do you come up with just coming up with new how do we post this? Let's post this as discussing, make it a discussion. Discussing ways to come up with new app ideas. Discussing ways to come up with new, let's just say, because we're building on Lovable. Lovable app ideas. Discussing ways to come up with new Lovable app ideas on my live stream. Let me know if you have any ideas. And then, of course, we'll use a down emoji if I can find one. Down, 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 down. Okay, this probably isn't the most entertaining for playback purposes. So if you're watching this video, eventually I get to it. Get to the point. But sometimes it takes a little bit of work. So, all right. So the tweet is out discussing ways to come up with new Lovable Dev app ideas on my live stream. Let me know if you have any ideas. Okay. So we're out in the world and let's talk about it. All right. So there's a few different ways that I do it. Like I said, yesterday was building out a personal app. I've also have a journal app. I have an app here. Let's just go through my dashboard real quick, just so we can talk about what I've built so far and then potential for new ideas. So this app called Pod Later, basically the idea is that you can get notified when any of you subscribe to a podcast, right? So you usually do that with a player, like you have the podcast player. For me on iPhone, I have whatever it is, iTunes. And so the podcast app, you download it and then you subscribe to whatever. And then like when you load it up, you can play podcasts. But how do you do that outside of the mobile app experience, or just if you want to stay in tune with like your whatever podcast you're following? So Pod Later was the idea that you could just get notified, you know, get maybe a little description of the episode, something like that, and get notified via email whenever a new episode is live or been published from whatever podcast you're following. So an easy way to find the podcast and then get notified when new episodes are up and published. So that was one idea. I also just got a fitness band. This is the Whoop fitness band. I do have an Apple Watch, but I stopped wearing it. So now I've switched to a fitness band. And one of the I do work out pretty regularly. So fitness is, I'm a sucker for anything fitness related. So apps related to fitness. I've done little apps on my phone for like macro tracking using, ChatGPT and OpenAI to sort of like do that sort of image analysis and try to count macros and stuff like that. So that's anything in the fitness space. I'm also a sucker for. So in terms of like new app ideas, health, and we'll talk about other ways to explore that in a little bit. Audio stuff, anything audio. I've been into audio producing, production, mostly like, dabbling with like, ever going back to college and MIDI and like, sequencing stuff and keyboards and anything with sound, really. I love manipulating sound. And so the idea that you can build an app and sort of have sound and control sound, anything like that, is in my like lane as well. So in terms of, so what we're talking about here, I guess, are app ideas that are specific to you, like, because obviously if you build it, you want to have some interest in it. Otherwise, you're probably not going to take it very far or push when it matters most, right? So you'll just abandon it. Like, like probably a lot of these projects that you're staring at here on my Lovable dashboard. But audio, and then I've got the personal sort of apps. This is it brings in my YouTube channel feed so that I can just, have a place where like a repository for my YouTube stuff. A habit builder. I'm not great at like building new habits, but I'm always interested in trying new things, but then I abandon them. So building an app every week, building an app every day. Maybe a specific streak tracker for building apps, something like that. What else do we got here? We've got fitness stuff, tech news, anything related to tech. Again, CES was just happening this past week, or maybe it was the previous week. A lot of new stuff happening in tech all the time, a lot of AI specific stuff happening. So always down to hear about the latest technology advancements, again, specifically with AI stuff. Podcast stuff, again, podcasting. And what else do we have? Oh, audio, like, like jamming out with like, I had this idea and I've had this for a long time, but the ability to like curate older tracks, not newer tracks per se, but like throwback jams. When like Throwback Thursday was a thing, it used to be for a while. I don't know if it still is, but throwback jams. Like, how do you bring back like old music? Because like everything that's old is new again, right? So even with fashion and music, that kind of stuff. So again, the idea to app in seconds, but what do we build? Like, what are we building? Like, what do you want to build? What should I build? And there's, like I said, a few different ways to get there. If we're talking about the personal project yesterday, I think one way that you do that is you understand the capabilities of the platform. So once you start understanding what it can do and what it can't do, then you have a better understanding of what you could do, right? So with Lovable, this sort of project flow has been a lot of experimentation, like just sort of seeing where the boundaries are, seeing where the limits are, both the limits of the platform as well as my own personal limitations, and then finding an idea that fits in that space that I think works well or could work well, and not just like drive me up the wall, like in terms of like technical issues. So now that I know how to, like yesterday I spent some time figuring out how to deploy. So in Lovable, for instance, if you want to deploy a project, you can just go up here to publish. And if you just click this button, it says redeploy now, but if you are just building out a project, it'll say like deploy. And it'll literally just push it. It'll just push it live to a Lovable domain. So it'll sit like this, graysreality.lovable.app, and then it will be accessible for like anybody to get to. So that's like the most straightforward way of publishing from Lovable. Now, if you want to get into a custom domain, then you sort of need to push it, connect it to GitHub. GitHub's like a repository where like projects get stored. All the code gets stored, and so you push it there, and then you can connect it to Vercel, or in my case, I did Netlify, and so this is basically the same thing. It's basically a copy of it. So this is sitting on Netlify, just like the Gray's Reality was sitting on Lovable. But with here on Netlify, you can actually push a domain to it. So you can forward a domain to this and then put it on your own domain. And so now it's like, okay, so now that you can have like an app in the real world, like on a real domain, you know, it's like, okay, what we can build pretty much anything, right? So that's the idea with like this whole thing about what do we build next? What should we build? And again, the idea with this was, okay, let's create a personal landing page. All right, great. That we can do that. Let's maybe then from here, let's spin out a landing page for an ebook, a lead gen page, a small website, small business website. You know, because, you know, if you think about what those require, like a landing page for like a lead gen offer or an ebook or some sort of like video sales letter page, I think could be pretty easily done. The things that I want to explore would be video embeds, you know, because if you're going to do a video sales letter, how well does and how easily is it to embed a video on Lovable? I imagine it's pretty easy, but I haven't tried it. So again, that's one of the things that we'll need to experiment with is how easy is it to embed a video like an iframe into Lovable, something like that. If you have a video on YouTube, for instance, it's pretty easy to get the iframe, like the embed codes for it. So what can we embed? What can we embed pretty easily into a Lovable app? All right, so what can we embed? Ebooks, like this Twitter image right now is just literally coming from Twitter. I just told Lovable to say, hey, can we just use my the profile image from my Twitter feed or from my channel? And it's like, yeah, and it just wrote it into the code. So, all right, so landing pages. There's some like deeper integrations. I was talking to my BFF, which is ChatGPT, and I'm asking it all kinds of things like, what can we do? Like, what can we build? And so that's another way to get ideas. So if you're not thinking about personal projects, anything that's like in your space that's relevant to you, and you're still like, you don't have any ideas, I just lost my train of thought. But that's what makes it difficult about trying to monitor the chat to make sure you're still actually talking to the world, and then keep a train of thought or a conversation flowing. So I'll just use that as an opportunity to break for a second, collect my thoughts, sip some coffee, maybe slow down for a second. Because I do feel like when I'm live streaming, I feel like sometimes I need to occupy every ounce of airspace. When I don't really think that's the case, but my mind says keep talking. Because if you're not talking, then nobody's listening. But it doesn't matter anyways, because, you know, I don't really have that issue with these early live streams. Still trying to work on, you know, the right balance, the right format, the right agenda. You know, I have my personal agenda and reason for being here, and I tell myself, like, in terms of content, this kind of content should just be done for my, like, the way to get it out there is just to do it and just to build it. So if you're building apps, then, you know, for me right now with Lovable, it's understanding the limitations of the platform and understanding my limitations, and then finding something that checks the box, like those two circles, you know, those Venn diagrams where you have the middle, trying to find out projects that like fit right there, you know, platform, me, interests, and like middle, like what's right there. So I think that leads us back to, like, again, app ideas. So if you're working on projects, you can iterate off of existing projects. But another interesting thing I've been sort of toying around with is the idea of, like, people are always like, just go iterate or go copy something else and make it better. I'm not sure if I'm particularly on board with the idea that you should just go rip off something else and then call it something else. But I am inspired by, it's similar. I think books have been published about this, where it's like, steal my idea or steal this thing. Basically, make it yours, right? And so I think that's what a lot of projects ultimately become, is like, you start with inspiration, and as long as it's like inspiration and not like a direct one-to-one ripoff, then like you can change things, make them your own, make them unique. And so along that vein, a lot of people reference, back in the day, I think it was App Annie. That's where you got data on like apps. So when we're talking about what should we build, ideas to build apps in seconds, like what should we build? So if you're at a place where you're out of luck or out of ideas, that's where I was going. So I finally came back. Like the train is pulled back into the station. I was talking to ChatGPT. So I use ChatGPT quite a bit to like sort of get some ideas for apps, right? And so let me just pull up a thread. Let me just pull up a thread where I was trying to do this and see if I can find it. Hold on. Live streaming app building. And then we'll talk about it. All right. So, okay. So I'll just pull this thread on screen. And all right. So literally this is kind of like how I have these discussions with myself and ChatGPT for like stuff like this. So it'll be like, I started live streaming, like literally, let's just provide some context. Now, what I should do is build out a project for this on ChatGPT. So there's a way to keep projects together. Like if you go into your sidebar and then over here, there's projects, you can create a new project and then store everything in there. So I should have like a live streaming project in here instead of just threads and threads and threads. Right. So that's one thing. But what could we, so I need some simple ideas that I can build while live streaming in less than an hour. So we've got daily quote generators, right? Fetch a random quote from an API and display it on a minimalistic interface. Okay, so seems pretty simple, right? These are all pretty, under an hour. So, I didn't expect much. I don't know, you got a to-do list, a simple to-do where users can add and mark tasks to complete, random meal planner, a mood tracker. I'm not going to explain all these. Most of these are self-explanatory. I still don't quite know how to say Pomodoro. A Pomodoro timer. They used to be really, they're still very popular. But in terms of like websites that used to just dedicate like their entire existence to being a timer, again, something with like Lovable, you could probably build that out in a matter of like a few prompts, right? So it's not as unique of an idea. And, any website, that's where like any website that exists just to be a timer, Pomodoro timer, the competition now is just going to get it's just going to get saturated. Now, obviously they have the benefit of being around for a long time and there's probably a ton of backlinks and, they have authority and they'll probably be fine for the near future. But anyways, it's just the idea that you're going to create a whole website around a timer now that you can pretty much make in a few seconds is sort of like, I don't know if that's what you want to do. But you got color palette generators. And again, so I just saw this. Someone was complaining, or someone was upset that they took their color palette generator site. I think I saw a thread on X about, they sort of talked about their color palette generator and that they had bought it for X amount and then they flipped it or bought it and then revamped it, took down the paywalls and then, generates money via like ads, like an ad network. So they put ads up. And then a couple days later, they said that it got ripped off, like verbatim, like just one-to-one copy. Somebody copied it and built a color palette generator. But like, I just don't, like these are the things that are just like, if there isn't anything unique or different, then like these things, the idea that you can just create a color palette generator is probably pretty easy. Like we can pick any of these, I imagine, and then just go over to Lovable right now and it'll make a basic color palette generator. It'll create a name generator, habit tracker, a random number picker, flashcard app, right? So these are some ideas as a way to come up with ideas, right? None of them, meal planning, I've had again, this falls into my fitness space. So some of these are a little bit more interesting than others. Mood tracker, currently working on a journal app using the real-time chat, the WebSocket with the real-time chat to see if I can track moods. The problem with that is I got into I was trying to find a model that worked with sentiment analysis, and the basic ones that I could get Lovable to connect with were like positive and negative sentiment. Like those were the only two. And some of the other models that do like more nuanced sentiment tracking, I just couldn't get Lovable to work with. Like it was just a struggle. So sort of left that project on the shelf for now, but a lot of these other things you could build pretty quickly. Habit tracker, again, that's one of the apps that we discussed earlier. And so those are some basic ideas. So I think if you're just getting started, this is probably a good way to do it. Nothing too complicated. Just get in there, fire one of these up. So like, you could use this as a prompt for Lovable, a simple to-do app where users can add, mark as complete, or delete tasks. That will create you something in Lovable, right? If you want to get a little bit more advanced, I would say, maybe change the prompt. What about ideas that might take a week, right? So then you get into something with a little more depth to it, so that they're not, again, so fly by night. And again, these then are not apps that you can build in seconds, but it would potentially take you a little bit longer to do, like a week, maybe. So this is like, maybe, you could focus on these for a week. So habit tracker with analytics, like tracking, calendar integration, visual progress tracking, daily reminders, personal expense trackers. I just built out because it's the new year, you're trying to get, finances under control, and debt, credit card debt and stuff like that. So there's a really popular method called snowball method. And so not with Lovable, but with Replit, I was able to publish build a snowball sort of calculator. So you put in your cards, your balances, the interest rate, and then it gives you the whole pay down plan, and then it rolls them, and then it gives you a timeline. And it was pretty cool, honestly. And I'd love to redo that on Lovable. So that's another idea. Take something that I built in some other platform like Replit and see if I could do it on Lovable. So again, if you're looking for app ideas, take something that you've already done somewhere else. Maybe it's dusty, maybe it is broken, and revisit it. Bring it back to life. Bring it back to life on Lovable. So progress tracker. I watched this movie last night. It was with Liam Neeson. And it's called Saints and Sinners, or In the Land of Saints and Sinners. The movie is set in like the 70s in Ireland. So I was about to say progress, fitness progress tracker. An app to log workouts, track weightlifting PRs, and visualize progress. Again, another app that I've done in Glide. So I built out an app in Glide. Glide's a bit more rigid. It's kind of a bit more business facing, like B2B. So they position their product as kind of a business solution as opposed to a consumer solution. So if you look at the pricing, it's not really like for a creator that wants to build a lot of apps, the pricing really isn't conducive to create. It doesn't really, it's just a bit too rigid. It's mostly like if you're a business and you want to streamline your solutions, Glide's kind of like great for that. So anyways, I tried to build out a rep tracker, like a 1 rep max tracker in the fitness space on Glide, and it worked pretty well. But it was a bit like, it is just rigid, like they've got some new features, new AI stuff. I haven't tried it, but